Ron Rivera was asked why the Washington football team is not good and everyone else in the division is good. And his answer, the one at least that got played on the TV and the radio, was quarterback. Read between the lines.
Yeah, he blamed basically Carson Wentz, which apparently everyone's done everywhere Carson Wentz has been at this point. And I don't know what it is. He doesn't seem like a bad guy, but it seemed like there were some issues in Philly. Obviously, Jim Irsay couldn't stand him in Indianapolis, and now he's in Washington. And the thing about that, and I know Ron Rivera spoke to the team, and I know he spoke to the media again and talked about how he had a mea culpa moment. Here's the truth: the media, when you go back and listen to that quote, the media was like, "Oh," and then they paused, and then someone followed up, and then he expanded on that thought, but he just said the quarterback. And that's where I kind of look at it and go, yeah, he knew what he said. He knew what he was doing. He was frustrated with this quarterback. The problem with Washington right now, I don't think it's Carson Wentz. He's probably the least of their concerns. If you look, I think he's thrown for over 300 yards 3 separate times so far this year. If you look at even that game, he was more of a reason why they had a shot in the end, not so much their defense, which has struggled, or their ground game, which has struggled. I just kind of look at it and think it's probably frustrating for Ron Rivera, the position that he's in, for a number of reasons. I mean, you have this cloud hanging over your organization with everything going on with Dan Snyder. I mean, hell, he was on a yacht somewhere else, and his wife, I guess.
Was he still on a yacht?
No, I think he showed up at some point back in the States.
Oh, okay, so he's back, right?
But his wife technically is back overseeing it, running the organization.
He's not in charge of the team right now.
Again, his wife is technically in charge of it, which who knows, there's that. There's the fact that, how they went about, bringing in Wentz, maybe Ron Rivera's on board. Maybe he wasn't. We don't know that. It's kind of too early in the season to be throwing up the white flag on the guy, in my opinion. Again, new system for him, new pieces around him. And I think he's they're top 10 in passing right now. It's not again, he's been as big of an issue. You say turnovers have been a bit of an issue for him, but yeah, when I always say this, when you're down in a game, what do you want your quarterback to do? Do you want him just to throw dink and dunk down the field and then cover the spread for you? Is that where we're at? Or do you want him to actually try to go back and win the football game? He's going to have to take some chances. He's probably going to throw a pick or have to throw into double coverage or triple coverage sometimes. That's the reality of it. I remember Phillip Rivers, your guy, he had that impassioned speech toward the end of his career, I believe back when he was with the Chargers. And he was just kind of talking about that. That's how quarterbacks think. What do you want us to do?
He's like, you want me to dink and dunk when we're down 15 points? No, I'm going
to sling and try to get back in the game. There's going to be some picks that come along with that. No doubt about it. So I don't know. I just think Wentz is not their biggest issue right now. I'd be frustrated to see Chase Young supposed to come in and be this dominating player. And he's been hurt. And I don't even know when he's been healthy, if he's been exactly what they were hoping for. There's just probably a lot of things they're going, what else could go wrong? One of your running backs, Brian Robinson, has a tragic incident, right? He's just able to come back. All those things kind of add up, but I think weigh on you. So I'm sure there's a lot of frustration with what he said.
Well, and the Chase Young thing too is particularly frustrating because it's that was a draft with Justin Herbert and Tua, where I remember did you kill me? I said had Washington just drafted R.I.P. Dwayne Haskins. I suggested they draft Tua. I did a mock draft and people killed me for it, saying they should take Tua at second. And it turns out they should have taken Herbert second. But I mean, obviously I guess it's hindsight, but yeah. I mean,
look, the reality is, obviously, Dwayne it's a tragedy how he is passed. There was talent, there was ability there. I mean, we had a sense that Washington might move on from him heading into the 2020. It would have been, I guess it would have been 1 year, but still, my point being is that Washington drafted Chase Young second overall, thinking he was going to be a Bosa, one of the Bosa. Yeah, had that sort of impact. Myles Garrett, whoever you want to talk about,
and I think you can see it with Ron Rivera. I sort of wonder how hot is Ron Rivera's seat. Because I know David Aldridge, who writes, general columnist in DC for The Athletic, wrote, it's time to talk about the quarterback, time to talk about the coach. And maybe it is. I tend to think he's got enough pull in that organization where he won't get fired, but Dan Snyder is obviously a wild card.
He's a wild card. I think the other thing is all this stuff heats up and people start looking at him. Guess what? Oh, let's fire the coach. They're talking about something else. like that's been kind of a tactic there, right? Like they had the whole name change, which I was perfectly fine with the Washington football team.
I loved Washington football team.
I thought it was cool. Like I was like, all right, it's different. No one else has this, and I don't know that you need to change it just to change it. They went through that whole storyline of why they could be the Red Wolves and all this other stuff. And it's like, well, then just keep it the Washington football team. Now you're the Commandos. I mean, the Commanders. Sorry, I can't stop thinking.
Dude, I call them the Commandos or the Commodores all the time.
Commodores. There you go.
Yeah.
But
I refuse to say Commanders.
Yeah. But
by the way, somebody in the chat is saying that you can play for Washington. You're in great shape. Why not?
I would say I'm in good shape.
Oh, good shape. Yeah, not great. Sorry. Good.
Yeah, not good. Yeah.
Not good shape.